Hey writers, Ingrid Sundberg here, and this is Ingrid's Notes where I'm talking about creative writing, craft, and process. And today I want to update you on where I am with my young adult novel, The Nevers. So things have been going along really well. I was doing a ton of really wonderful character work, and then suddenly, bam, I hit the wall. So everybody's got a wall. It's a really normal thing where you are working on your first draft and then suddenly maybe 30 to 50 to sometimes even 100 pages into your draft, you hit this wall and you have no freaking clue what to do next. Now, what's happening when you hit the wall is you've played out your premise. You had this initial sort of candle of inspiration that was lit in you. You were like, yes, I know what I'm doing. I'm really excited about this story. I have this concept. I have this premise. You start writing, and then you kind of play out as far as you'd seen in the story, right? You projected so far, and then you wrote that, and now you don't know what's happening. Now, usually when I'm working with clients, when they hit the wall, it's because they haven't really spent time with their protagonist to really narrow down either a very clear goal, or they haven't really figured out what their misbelief is, what's going on internally, and how they need to really grow and be challenged in this story. But for me, I've done all of that work, right? I love to do that work. I know exactly what that stuff is, but I still hit the wall. So I've known for a little while why I've hit the wall, and I've been avoiding it. It's something I've been trying not to deal with, or telling myself it's not that important, but it's super important. So I hit the wall because I haven't spent the time to really figure out my villain, who he is, what his desire is, and what it is he wants. And that's tripping up the whole story. I don't have a strong villain creating opposition for my protagonist. Yuck. So whenever you hit the wall, the best thing to do is to get outside influence from other people who can start to help you see the things you're not seeing. So what I did is I went and I started to talk to my very good screenwriting friend, Eric Martinez, who I went to graduate school with. We Skyped together and I started talking about this issue with him. And what we discovered is the reason that I'm really starting to have trouble with Hook, with my bad guy, is because he's the king. He's the king of the Nevers. He's basically the head of a gang. He's the mafia boss. And I'm having trouble connecting with him because down deep inside me, Ingrid, don't really like gangster stories. And it turns out I'm kind of writing one. So takeaway number one, I have to learn to get out of my own freaking way. I need to get over my own personal issues about what I feel and how I want to judge mafia stories and gangster stories, right? Because one of my most important characters, and even the context of the Gang of the Pirates, really reflects mobster life. So I need to now dive into that and find out what in that really resonates with me. But my friend Eric, he also gave me 5 exercises, 5 bits of homework that I need to do about my villain Hook. And I'm going to share them here with you because I think they're going to help you develop your villains as well. 1. Think of your villain as a mirror, the mirror opposite of your protagonist, right? You have a mirror, and on one side, you have your protagonist, and she has her sets of beliefs, the things she cares about, the ways in which she acts, which is built in from her internal values. And then over here on the other side, you have your villain, and how can your villain be the opposite, right? How can they reflect a completely different opposite worldview, set of values, desires from your protagonist? That those opposing parts will cause conflict between them. 2, and this one's a doozy. Act as if your villain is actually the protagonist. Think about them. Go through all of those character building steps. What do they want? How would this story unfold? Imagine they are actually the protagonists telling the story, and how would the story unfold? That's pretty awesome. That's a really exciting way to think about your villain as the hero. And here's why number 2 is so great, and it's number 3, and that is that you need to have your villain be a complex, layered, lived-in, full human being. It's so easy for us to just be like, well, you're the bad guy, so you're evil and you don't care about life and you do bad things and you kill, or whatever it is that encapsulates badness, evil. If you think about your villain as your protagonist who is layered and complicated and really believes in what they're doing, that they're the hero of the story, suddenly they become such a complicated, fascinating, even compassionate in some ways, character that really comes to life. 4, revisit your heart theme. This is the thing that you, the author, are constantly returning to thematically over and over again in your story. I did an entire video about this, so go watch that video also. But revisit that heart theme and now think about how your villain can either challenge what is the fears and the shame that's a part of that heart theme, or like a mirror, can be a mirror to the heart theme. How can they actually represent the opposite of that, right? Actually conjure up all the dark, evil, fear, hurtful parts that are really a part of that heart theme. How can they be the instigator of that? And 5, I firmly believe you need creative input for creative output. So part of this is research. Some writers don't like to watch movies or read other books to get inspired, but I really do, and I'm struggling right now to get into the mindset of the king, of the mafia boss. So my friend Eric gave me this awesome, great big, huge list of gangster movies that I need to watch, because I've spent all this time thinking about my protagonist that I really need now to get into the mindset of the king, of my villain. And so I'm going to watch all of these movies and take notes and think about what are the things that in these films they're struggling with and they want, and what are their particular, fear and shame that drives them and causes them to do, things that I, Ingrid, might not agree with or think are great things to do, right? Things that are evil, quote unquote evil, but they believe are really awesome or important or worth their time and energy and heart. Okay, so immerse yourself in the movies and the books that thematically deal with the issues in your story or have similar archetypical characters as your villain, but don't make them archetypes, right? That's just an idea of what a character is. It's not a real person. And look for the bits that resonate with you, the author, that you can then take and build your character from. That's what I'm doing with this list. So just to recap, get out of my own frickin' way. 1, think about my villain as a mirror to my protagonist. 2, think about my villain as the protagonist. 3, think of them as somebody who is complex and layered. If they were the hero, what are all the different elements and layers of the villain as hero? 4, revisit my heart theme and see how my villain can actually attack or instigate that heart theme. And lastly, creative input. Give yourself some creative input. Maybe I just need to watch a few movies to find that spark that is at the heart of my villain. Once again, this is Ingrid's Notes, and if you are enjoying these videos, please subscribe and do take some time in your own manuscript to really think about who your villain or your antagonist or the overall opponent of your story is and how they can be deeply textured and layered and really add a whole new dimension to your story.